Are you?
All right, the stream is live. I'm gonna hit start.
Hey, we're having people join. Got some folks in the room. What's up, y'all? Thanks for coming. What's up? What's up? Hope y'all doing good tonight. We're really excited about this. How y'all feeling, Sade, Dane?
I'm excited seeing people come in, ready to start yapping, what I do best.
Yes, excited also because I'm like, yes, it's still Black History Month, shortest month of the year, but we still here. And also, makes you think of as people are joining. I think folks can see the chat if people want to put name, pronouns, where they're coming from, or they're up in, and also your favorite hip hop song in the chat. So we could add it to our playlist after this. That would be great.
We're gonna get started in just a couple minutes, y'all. What's up, Maddie? Hey, thanks for joining.
Hi, I've seen you so many times like online. So
Yeah,
on Twitter. I got off of Twitter, but I understand. I'm like, oh, maybe I should go back on there because I missed stuff. But
no, don't go back on there. It's not good. It's
I'm not
not good
missing
for anybody's
anything.
health. Nah. Yeah, you got free. That's for the best. Yeah, but it's good to see.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, we're just having people join, letting folks come in through the waiting room, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Thanks for joining, y'all. Kill just shouted out. Feel free to share your name, pronouns, where you're at, and your favorite revolutionary hip hop song or lyric. I can start out. There's a song called Police State by Dead Prez. We living in a police state. Like, y'all, that song is raw. Okay. If you're not hip, go check that out. But yeah, we'll get started in a couple minutes. Dana's talking about let's get free. Okay, my people are here. The right folks came into this call. Hey, Christina made it. Hey, what's up? Welcome, welcome, y'all. We're just giving folks a couple minutes. Y'all, this is 10 times a rapper spit something low key revolutionary. We're gonna be talking about lots of dope artists. Some artists with some questionable politics too, but sometimes they have that one line that's like, oh shit, they really talking now. So we're gonna get into it in a little bit. All right, so the question in the chat was, what's your like favorite revolutionary hip hop song or artist? So Danae, Sade, any of our guests, feel free to jump in. What are y'all thinking about? I took the easy one. My bad. Stina says Pac. I heard that.
I'm like, how bendy can we get with this concept of revolutionary? Because I saw the row put it in the Missy Elliott lyric, and I will say that it's wild that Missy Elliott, who are you queer? You're not, part of the community. um, did not have a solo tour for their entire career until now, and they're like in their 50s. First of all, Also, shout out to them because you know there's that theory that all rappers are short. Missy Elliott is also really short. Like it's giving. I'm 5'2" with my shoes on a good day. It's giving 4'11", 5'1" energy. And I feel like yeah, that if we're like expanding the idea of revolutionary, then I love Missy Elliott because I feel like her music is like let's dance, let's get outside. Like it definitely reminds me of double dutching on my block. Um, and I went to her show this summer, and it was the best concert. First of all, I haven't been to that many concerts in my life, but it was the best concert I've ever seen in my life. It was like a spaceship, futuristic, blah blah blah, and then there was also like 50 dancers. And I'm when I say I was like, I basically need to be in this show my entire life. Like just wake up, go back to the show, go back to sleep. Like it was that.
Yeah, that's amazing. When a performer kind of builds another world and you're like, look, this is just what my life needs to be. I totally understand that. And Missy is the truth. So I love that answer. Anybody else wanted to check in before we get started?
Yeah, I would say that like it's an interesting question because there was like that whole like separation between conscious versus supposedly not conscious or mainstream rap. And I feel like it's kind of like this binary that doesn't actually exist, like because hip
Mhm.
hop is picking up like it's like a radio frequency of like the hood. So it's picking up the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it's like sometimes some artists that are problematic, they're like we don't really always know their actual politics, but like sometimes they'll have a song like, oh, they're saying something. And then other times they have a song that's like obviously pushing, negative things. So it's interesting because like I mean, you could say early like Kanye or like you some of the songs, right? But the artist itself, like the politics is way off, right? Especially now, but also
Right.
artists are human, so their politics change. So basically I could write a dissertation, so let me shut up.
You know what? This is for the yappers. So go ahead, Sade.
No, I was gonna say at the mention of Kanye, because RIP to a mind that was almost there. It was almost there because the way that like first thing that came to mind was spaceship, like that whole verse where he's just talking about, being used as the token blackie and all that stuff. I'm like, man, yeah, he was with us. What happened? He was right there working at the Gap with us. And now, so yeah, you can say a revolutionary thing here and there. You can speak to the people here and there, but sometimes that I don't know if it's a class divide or what, but something creeps on in and keeps us from taking it to that next level.
Hmm. Absolutely. I feel like this is a great grounding and a great way to start because Maddie was like, yeah, there's folks are coming in with complexities and even in just like from their expression, they might be saying a whole lot of stuff that we're like, I don't know if I could co-sign this, but there might be something there as well that we can really value and talk about. I feel like as a hip hop fan and a rapper myself and all this stuff, I have yeah, it's engaging with this culture has been complex, of course. But I really value it. And that's why we're here today, because this space is for the folks who like really can hold all those truths, all those nuances, recognize the parts of the politics that are like, I don't know. But also be like, all right, there's some real revolutionary potential here that we should not abandon. So let's get into the event. This is 10 times a rapper spit something low key revolutionary with the New Economy Coalition and the Black Solidarity Economy Fund. Thank you so much for pulling up today. We're going to be live streaming, I think, YouTube, IG. I don't really know totally where my face is right now, but welcome everybody. And shout out to Jay and Samara for handling the tech and all that and all that. We got some wonderful folks here. We got Sade and Danae who are on NEC staff. We got Maddie and Christina and Amani who are special guests pulling up to give us even more juice and analysis and even some bars. We got Kill, we got Samar, we got Jay already shouted out, kind of holding the space together. making the container. And yeah, hopefully we have a good time tonight. Um, yeah, just to start us off a little bit by talking about what New Economy Coalition is really quickly. We're going to get to the fun really quickly. New Economy Coalition is a network of over 200 organizations across the US and even some slightly outside of those borders that are working and stewarding the solidarity economy movement. Um, yeah, and the New Economy Coalition is a network. So we provide lots of infrastructural support. We provide resources to organizations, trainings. We uplift storytelling, arts, and culture work. All the components that are kind of part of the solidarity economy movement are things that you can find in this beautiful network that I'm proud to be a part of. So that's just a tad bit about our organization, but I want to pass it to Sade to talk about what the Black Solidarity Economy Fund is real quick.
Thank you. So the Black Solidarity Economy Fund has been around since 2020, and it is a fund that was created specifically to support Black leadership within the solidarity economy movement, specifically within our network. So I think to this day we have re-granted just under a million. I think it's $975,000 to Black-led projects throughout the US and some of the surrounding islands. And we've also began working on creating programming that is Black centered, that has grown out of the Black Solidarity Economy Fund space, including our Black Radical Democracy Working Group, which we held a convening for last July in Durham, and it was popping, y'all. So we are actually in the middle of a fundraising campaign, so I got to do the thing. If somebody wants to drop the link to donate in the chat, we welcome all donations. Everything is 100% re-granted out to our grantees and keeps the work of Black-led solidarity economy going on. Back to you, Julian.
Yes, 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 indeed. Hit up those links if you got a couple extra cents or dollars out there. But yeah, we're gonna have a fun night playing, y'all. We got a lot of cool stuff happening. We're gonna have a conversation about these rap lyrics that really push us toward revolution or could. We got a cipher coming a little bit later. We got some cool surprises, y'all. But we're about to get into it. I want to give a little space for Danae if you want to introduce yourself real quick. And then we will dive into our conversation.
Thank you. You know, I'm in two places at once. Oops. Um, so my name is Danae. I am the training and events organizer at NEC, and I'm super excited to be part of this conversation and to talk about the possibilities of revolution in all of Black art, but especially in hip hop, which has been so foundational to me. You know, I'm from Brooklyn, so I feel even though, okay, yeah, hip hop did start in the Bronx, but you know, we right there. So giving a lot of love to this convo. And I also think that we can't talk about hip hop without talking about the context that exists around it, and even the context of this time, and what kind of music and art are we making right now? And is it like, what does that mean about the state of hip hop if our music and hip hop is not reflecting what's happening now? There's so much content to talk about in this current world. I'm just excited to get into the conversation about where are we as movement folks, as artists, as Black people, where are we? And how can we use our creativity to shift culture?
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I think we're ready to dive into it. I think we're ready for our first example. What do y'all think? Y'all think we good? I bet. I see folks still introducing yourselves in the chat. Please do that. We got the chat open, y'all. So if y'all want to key in there, we could interact that way. All right, you hear me? Get real active. All right, so I'm gonna share the first example, right? And so if y'all just came in, this is 10 times a rapper spit something low-key revolutionary. We're gonna be pulling lyrics out from rap songs, regardless of what the context of the song is. Look, we're not caping for these niggas for real, but we're talking about the lyrics and the revolutionary potential in them. All right. So here, I'm gonna start us off, Sade and Dane. See what y'all think for real. All right. So the first lyric that I pulled up is J. Cole, none other, saying, Christina's like, of course you started with this. J. Cole, love is wanting more for someone than they want for themselves. Okay. Now, let me just get on my soapbox real quick. What does this have to do with revolution for me? All right. For me, so often it feels like, oh, the dreams, the goals, the aims I have for my niggas, for black people are so grand, are so different than the world we have right now. And you know what? Sometimes my homies, they don't really care about that shit for themselves for real. Not all the way, not all the way, not yet. I'm not saying it's not possible. Sometimes it's feeling like, I'm maybe wanting a little bit more for folks that are around me than they're really even thinking about for themselves. And I feel like, you know what? That's all right. That's love. That's what revolutionary love is. I don't know if y'all are picking up on what I'm putting down, but what do y'all think about these lyrics about the idea of love being wanting more for someone than they want for themselves? What do y'all think?
I think love is revolutionary in and of itself. So like starting there, I think that it's like some about it is rubbing me along the whole like wanting more for yourself, or I don't know. It's just it feels paternalistic. That's the word I'm looking for. Just slightly paternalistic. But yeah,
But
there is something about like just wanting more for other people. Maybe the then they want for themselves part is what's hanging me up, but wanting
Mhm.
more for people, and it's bringing me back to the idea of Black radical imagination as well. Is we don't even know what liberation looks like because we haven't experienced it yet. So we have to dream that up. So that's what came up for me is like wanting more than what you've ever even known you deserve, wanting more than what you've ever seen, what you ever had. That's what it's coming up for me.
Yeah, we don't have to separate it from the context, right? Like this is J. Cole, someone who has shown up extremely paternalistically repeatedly. So, so I'm not saying that it's not that. Absolutely. Anybody else wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I just say like I have a complicated relationship with J. Cole. Um, I also think that like even with the whole notion of just like hip hop, that kind of like segment of like kind of conscious, kind of not segment of hip hop that's like is J. Cole, is Kendrick Lamar. We can go at it, but I feel like I love that we're starting at love, and I think love as a is a the radical possibility that's going to get us free. And I actually think that the basis of hip hop was about love. Like we're going to gather no matter what. We're going to create. Like not like don't want to miss out on other things. I know we're focusing on rap, but like rap or MC, thinking about graffiti artists, thinking about the like dancers, break dancers, thinking about the cultural knowledge aspect.
Mm.
I feel like, yeah, wanting to really think about all the elements that make up hip hop and that at its root, I feel like is about love. At its root, I feel like is a black, and I would even say like rooted to the continent, like African concept of how we gather. Like we don't gather if it's not through song, if it's not through dance, if it's not through play, if it's not through let me use something that you thought was this technology to make it something else, which is
Yeah.
bringing in spirit. So I think yes, but I do not love him being like I don't agree with his definition of love is wanting something more than wanting more for people than they want for themselves. I don't think that that is what love is in practice. I don't think that's a radical love ethic. I think love is being with people and accompanying them to for them to figure out and to discover like how do I take care of myself and how do I take care of my community and how am I in community with everyone with the elements with my like neighbors. So I just feel like this is very shady, but I'm like I'm like, do I say this hot take? But I'm just like, I think
Hey,
we need to have a conversation in our culture, especially black cis men around like, do we actually know what it looks like to practice love? I don't know if any of us do, but I'm like, in capitalism, in the culture of hip hop, like, do we actually know how to practice love? And yeah, I just don't agree. I'm like interested in what y'all think about as what is the definition of love, but I'm like, it's not given. That's not given.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Anybody else jump in? Maddie said that definition sounded codependent. That's real. It
I'm
does.
being dramatic. It really is not that serious.
Oh, but it is though. We're here to
It
make it
triggered me because
necessary.
I had issues with that in the past.
Yeah. I feel like when it's like in the context of like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like because I was thinking about it more systemically, I wasn't like zoning into like the interpersonal kind of examples of it. But I think either way, right? Like if I am approaching, let's just use the term the masses, and I'm like, the ideas I have for what we could do together are more or better than what y'all think about yourselves, that's paternalistic in and of itself. So I need to check myself on that for real. Like as an educator, I would not come into things like with that energy. You know what I mean? So I think y'all are on the money about this one. Absolutely.
Okay, I can bring in a song, another song I'm thinking about.
Yeah, hell
Um,
yeah.
maybe because it was definitely my childhood. Although this is making me feel like I know we have different folks in different generations and ages, but I'm like, I really realized that music, like even 4 years apart, sometimes we hear different songs make up our childhood. Because I feel like I heard this song every single day, and I was actually listening to this podcast about MTV and like because I didn't know like how, the birth of MTV and how really racist it was. It was also like the first time putting videos on like centralizing videos, and I'm just like thinking about how addicting Instagram and TikTok is and all these things of like we're so stuck on the visual, but I'm thinking about everything is manufactured and controlled and by whom and for what reason. Because when MTV started, it was like we're not gonna play Prince, we're not gonna play Whitney Houston, we're not gonna play Janet, we're not like all of these artists that were like incredible at the time, and also we're not gonna play anything that's conscious. It has to be something that's popular. So in terms of like hip hop and its influence and how it's changed in the visual era, I feel like we can't miss the mark of where media was leading to. But the song I'm thinking about, I already said it earlier, and then some people didn't know what it was. So, but it's Nas, and I feel like I sang this song all the time when I was a kid. That I know I can be what I want to be if I work hard at it. I'll be what I want to be. That song was in my head. I feel like it came on MTV at VH1 Hits, which I feel like was the Black MTV, but I don't even know what was going on.
Mhm.
But I loved that song as a kid, and even I feel like I was like 8, 10 when I was listening to this song, and even then it rubbed me the wrong way because the whole song is basically him shaming black women, being like, if you didn't dress like that, if you didn't hang out with the wrong people, if you like, basically it's your fault for looking grown. Which I remember when I was a kid, mad people used to like, I don't know, I was like literally 8 years old, and I remember I could feel like every single day somebody called me grown or fresh, and like just thinking about the impacts of that having on a young black girl, like, oh, like anything I did was something to critique. So I'm just like, for this to be in a whole song, and it's also like blaming the black woman for like, this is why you can get STDs. You should be more like Oprah. Also, like this kind of like fetishization. But I feel like the revolutionary part, the chorus, the idea of like singing, I know I can be what I want to be. That part is what got me. I loved that as a kid. And I feel like that's a beautiful affirmation and anthem, but then the whole rest is like, so I feel like this is like a low key, it's low key revolutionary. If you just listen to the chorus, you could be like, yes, I could be what I want to be, affirmations, what? And then you hear the rest and you're like, what, where we at? I don't know what folks' thoughts are around that song. And also Nas, people feel like Nas is a conscious rapper. Debatable.
See, yeah. That's because like people just are like, yeah, any type of social commentary is like a level of consciousness, I guess, to folks, which, you know, debatable, whatever. But yeah, I did feel like that song was empowering growing up. I was like, yeah, okay, affirmations, this is great. I didn't know the word affirmations when I was 8, but but I did feel like, okay, yeah, this is gassing me up a little bit.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to talk, I'm a yapper, sorry. But I was just gonna say, as an old head, I guess I'm kind of an old head now, but like the again, like the difference between conscious versus like mainstream, we got to remember that that was created by white people. Like black people didn't have this sense of like like woke, like all of these things are really new concepts that white people have put onto to black culture. And in reality, people were just people commenting on like what was happening around them. And so like I try to think of so I don't like worship celebrities too, because like when I was growing up, I was like, oh, I love this artist. I was a huge fan of Nas for his, especially his lyricism. Like he has a whole song where he tells a story backwards. Like what? Like the bullets going into the gun. Like it's just like crazy, right? It's not a conscious song, but it's like, okay. So all that to say, just keeping in mind, like we don't have to use those terms. We can come up with our own too. Like we don't have to think of ourselves as like there you can only party or you have to like be hella like preaching to the choir. Because then also we know that artists that have been labeled as conscious are problematic and have made problematic decisions. Talib Kweli is a very good example of that. I don't know if y'all heard about the tea about Talib. He was one of my favorites as well. But we know that went south. Okay, let me stop. Look at me trying to cause south.
Even Nas, man, man,
No, it's true. Yeah. There's, I mean, people are people, so we don't have to like, yeah, worship them or anything. But yeah, I just want to remind y'all of that because I'm an old head. So
No, I love that. I feel like Shada, you were gonna say something. I want to say like a boop, but I'll go wait after you. I think I
No,
love go.
I was just saying, like, if we were to interrogate the character of every rapper out there, especially all the cishet male rappers out there, we wouldn't have none to listen to no more, y'all. But go ahead, Tanya.
No, that I mean I think that is real. Um, like how do we not create binaries? And even especially now that I feel like there are more um mainstream and just like in general, I feel like there are more black femmes, like black trans, black queer, black um gender nonconforming folks who are like participating in hip hop and more visible. And I also feel like not to create a binary, but something that I'm thinking about is like in one moment there was like I do think that we all evolve and like there's this book that I really love by Russell Maroon Schultz, who was actually I don't know how many years, I think he was incarcerated for more than 20 something years, but he calls himself a maroon because he tried to escape. And he did actually escape multiple times, but he was also a black revolutionary, and he wrote this book called Maroon the Implacable, and it talks kind of about all of these movements that people might glorify, but then the underbelly. So he talks about the Black Panther Party and patriarchy, and he talks about the Black Seminoles and like Native folks and Black solidarity and the pitfalls and also supports of that. And he also talks about gangsterism and like can we have revolutionary gangsterism and what's opportunistic and what's not. And what I feel like is yes, I don't want to have a binary between conscious and not conscious, but I think that in the past there was more space to be like that ain't it. And I'm just like when I was acting up as a kid, somebody else's mother could be like, get your ass in the house right now, what the hell you doing, even though sometimes it was patriarchal because I wasn't doing nothing, I was just being cute. But sometimes it was like, I love you and I'm gonna see you and I'm actually correct you because I care about you. I don't care if you're my child. I'm gonna feed you every day like you because that people were feeding me. Or and I'll also cuss you out if you act in a mess. And I feel like what we are missing right now, whether we're gonna call it conscious rap or not, is sometimes we can't offer critique to folks and we don't get to see people in their development. Or it's like we don't get to encourage people to develop in a conscious way. And I think there's like another rapper that I want to highlight, but I'll talk about them later. But I tie it back into this conversation around like conscious and not conscious, or binary and not binary. But I think the base of it is like we need to actually be able to be in critique and debate and in process of evolution with each other, or we're gonna just get co-opted. And so I think it is a dangerous thing to be like being binary, but I also think that what happened to hip hop was very swift and very along the lines of like the Reaganism, of killing the Black Power movement, of killing revolutionary consciousness, and like this is the place that the birth of hip hop is happening in. And so I could see why conscious label and the tension exists. Oh, I put the book in the chat. It's called Maroon the Implacable. So good.
I wanted to welcome Amani. I see you just joined us while we were yapping. So welcome to the conversation. I wanted to throw out another quote. Speaking of old heads, because this my 40th is this year. I'm a proud old head, elder millennial here. We've seen it all. We had the best music growing up. Listen, 2003 was the year I graduated, and them songs was it. But taking it back, somebody had already mentioned in the chat Tupac. So from Changes, which obviously like you could just listen to that whole song, but the line I wanted to pull out was, I got love for my brother, but we can't go nowhere else unless we share with each other. And that brings us back to like our solidarity economy principles, the idea of solidarity, coming together, sharing resources. It's like, okay, we started talking about love, right? So we love each other. What does that mean? None of that is worth anything if we're not working together. None of that is worth anything if all we're doing is fighting to be the best Black capitalists in the room. So how are we sharing our resources? How are we really being revolutionary, creating alternatives to capitalism within our own community? Everything that Danae was just sharing about our sense of community and how our village works, a lot of that is about resource sharing. And how are we practicing that, especially in 2025 when, hyper independence, individualism, and all that is kind of the thing that folks are doing, taking care of their own self, putting your own mask on first, all these things that have been thrown around about people being, selfish to a degree, which is rightful. But how are we turning back towards each other, especially when shit looks like this outside?
Donnie, were you about to say something? No, yeah, I think I really appreciate you brought that up. Because I've been thinking a lot about how folks are navigating resource sharing. I feel like over the last couple of years, I've seen like folks who run mutual aid projects talk about their like donations kind of drying up, like as like we get removed from 2020. And of course, like the economy is like super rough, so like that's a huge factor as well. But I think like what responses we have to that, like when things get hard, I really like would wish and hope that we would turn toward each other more than like isolating, even though we're like told so often that um isolating from each other and just like kind of trying to protect our own neck is like the thing to do in those moments. Um, so yeah, it's just kind of interesting to think about that kind of like juxtaposition there. Um,
Yeah, interested to hear from some of the panelists that maybe haven't spoke out yet. If you wanted to share any thoughts on that solidarity and how we're moving resources through all this.
also, yeah, Christina, you dropping a lot in the chat if you wanted to voice on what you're saying. You might be good. Who has the next example? Who wants to share the next lyric that we should talk about? Christina, go ahead.
All right. I have so many examples. I want y'all to know. Also, first of all, fellow head here as well. I I love hip hop. Like I can't even explain to y'all. So I have been so excited about this. Um, I just it's been a blast being able to just like dig into lyrics and kind of deconstruct them in a very different way. So I'm gonna start with one that always kind of stuck with me. I have so many here, but I'm gonna start with one that always kind of stuck with me, which is Future. Future problematic. I know Future got a lot going on, but when Future released Trap Niggas, the way I felt about that song and just like the lyrics in and of itself was like this ability like of understanding what systemic issues were, but also being able to say like people are choosing community whether or not you agree with what that community is, and God's blessing them. God's looking out for them. And there's a lot of reasons that like we obviously know that people are choosing to make the choices they're making within those neighborhoods, and he kind of speaks to that. But this contrast that he has, especially in the hook, of like God praying on your knees, choosing community, that has always stuck out to me, as being able to kind of like imagine community in a very different way than I think people are told to do so. So I'm gonna start there.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, that does make me think a little bit about how there's been like I don't know if y'all been clocking this, but like conversations recently about how folks who are experiencing poverty and trying to survive, like there's been a underlying conversation about like folks basically not deserving things. You know, like literally, like I don't know if y'all have seen this, but like the whole conversation about like the food stamps and some of those like welfare programs and folks just being like, yeah, try to like control what people eat and all this shit. So yeah, I do think this concept of like trap niggas getting blessed, you know, trap niggas getting things in general kind of subverts some of that attitude. I don't know how much people are really like thinking about that or like internalizing that, you know, how that message lands. But that does feel like a little bit in contrast with how people tend to look at and view what, frankly, like poor black folks deserve, you know?
Yeah, which we will always remind folks that it's not Black people who are the most on food stamps and public assistance. It is white folks, and also so at the end of the day, I think it's like I love that you brought in now Future. We all know he more than problematic, but and I'm like, do you like black women? But in terms of the lyrics of that song, I do love that too. Of um like actually there is like spirit, there is care, there is God, this is my community, that this is cared for. The folks who we don't think about, or the folks who we don't think we should value or don't value, are actually blessed. And I feel like that's a beautiful statement. And yeah, into that example that you just gave, and I do feel like sometimes even in terms of hip hop and in terms of like mainstream culture and indoctrination, like it be sometimes black people saying, "Oh, I don't feel like we should have food stamps. I don't feel like we should have Medicaid." So I think it's also like to the power of the state in terms of indoctrination, its messaging, whether that's through music or who knows, all the messaging systems that we have. But I feel like we're in a time again where we're gonna need to be asking those same questions and meeting those same needs of like this is why like the free breakfast program was created, right? It's like there are needs in our communities, and there are people who feel like we shouldn't meet them, and it's up to us to go and meet those needs. And so remembering, like, who are we actually, who is blessed, who do we find blessed, who do we find beloved, and like returning to that space. And it is the trap, like whatever the metaphorical trap, the spaces that are not resourced, the spaces that are considered to be dark, right? The terms actually being kind of having a kind of undertone of meaning black, right? These spaces that are like where black people gather are not worthy. We have to remember that they are. And so I love that lyric. The rest of it is boo. And but yeah, I do love that lyric. Thanks for bringing that in. Mm. I'm seeing. I just want to listen to the Jay's comment in chat. I think a lot about how gun culture and hip hop and trap culture has more young boys prepared for armed struggle, but the lyrics and even educational spaces are missing messaging about how that militancy could serve building and defending Black solidarity economies.
Yeah, okay. So this is an official edition, but I did bring a quote to speak to some of this preparation. I did bring a quote. Now, I gotta say at this point, this is coming from me as an individual at this point, y'all. Like this ain't got nothing to do with my employer. What do they put in their like profiles on Twitter? Like the posts are my own opinions. This is my own opinion. Okay. I pulled a Mona Leo quote because I was thinking about like kind of the gun culture and like how much like yes, that is coming from a lot of like black boys and men. But I think Mona Leo subverts so much of that in such exciting ways. Um, um, and so one of the things that Mona Leo kind of said about that was when I creep around that corner, bitch, you better run and hide. And we ain't taking shit to heart. We gonna take it right outside. Mm. Okay. First of all, I love the like concept of we're not taking shit to heart, right? This is I feel like is gonna be so important for us. Like, of course, we like can be deeply moved by our conditions, which feels important. But I'm like, don't let the shit that these white folks is saying about us affect your self-esteem, affect your sense of self-worth. Don't even worry about that because we just gonna take it outside. Like it doesn't have to be internalized. We gonna have to go ahead and deal with it immediately. You know what I mean? And I love that Mona Leo was talking about this. Um, and I also just feel like some of the look, I think we can definitely move a lot of people, but also I'm also like, yeah, some of this stuff is just going to have to end in conflict. I don't know. Again, poster my own opinions. I'm just throwing that out there based on Jay's chat around like readiness for conflict. All right, I'm gonna go on mute. What do y'all think about this?
No, I think I'm a mother of teenagers and I have like teenage nephews that are just, yeah, have been dealing with life for longer than they should have been. But I think, yeah, it is, some of the more damning parts of hip hop culture glorify gang violence, but gang violence exists because gangs exist and gangs exist because people need community. So, what community are these young boys plugging into? If all they hear is, the shoot 'em up trap music, that's what they're going to get. How are we exposing young folks to new artists, knowing that mainstream is filtered through the white gaze? How are we making sure that young folks in our families are listening to more than what's just playing on the radio? How do we introduce them to these more conscious rappers or just to concepts, revolutionary concepts outside of mainstream hip hop? How do we introduce them to some of the old revolutionary works? They were spitting bars. It might not have been over a beat, but a lot of them old civil rights leaders was spitting, So I see how they respond to J. Cole and calling him corny and all that crap. So it's like something is not clicking. Um, and I don't, me as the parent in a situation. Like I can't be like, listen to this guy, he's cool, because everything I say is whack. So yeah, I guess I'm looking to like who are the middlemen, who are the young black male adults, Julian, who are the folks like y'all that are out there that can like bridge that gap and start standing in the way and giving those young black men like a direction for that conflict is inevitable. When you are constantly dehumanized and stuck in poverty and bastardized and all those things, conflict is inevitable. How do we turn how do we turn the weapons towards capitalism, towards the government, towards the systems, rather than towards each other?
It's interesting that like kind of Christina brought in the idea of like in Dane as well, bringing in the idea of how we're like relating to this trap and like kind of some of the culture around it. I remember reading something from this apparently an unremarkable old white leftist. I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about how the left like has to work on their relationship with like violent struggle, either from like a perspective of like shying too much away from the idea of it, or also just like being like too excited about, you know what I mean? Like kind of like being ingratiated with the idea of it. And like trying to find a middle ground, knowing that like you're saying, Sade, is like a somewhat of an inevitability. And that kind of sat with me, and I think it relates to this conversation about like what Jay kind of raised around like how that militancy that folks kind of bring as a like kind of a product of their experiences could serve towards building and defending Black solidarity economies, right? How do we develop a healthier relationship around that and have some like ethics around those things too? I think are questions that feel like really live for me.
I think this makes me think too. So, like one of the other lyrics, I was just looking at it as you guys were talking about that I got was from Little Dirk, and his song Pelico is really just an entire song that kind of speaks. I mean, so if anybody's heard the album, like the very first song before that is like a whole conversation from a therapist perspective, right? Talking to him. And this album was made right after King Von died, and I don't know if you guys are familiar, if people are familiar with that beef, but that whole song to me kind of lends to this idea, not just about conflict, but like not knowing what to do. Like communities don't have real solid things as far as conflict. In his song is like this balancing act between really understanding that the community that he was a part of that did kind of give him this fame and give him this money and give him this way out, right? Like he speaks in that song about all the people that he's like paying things for, buying shoes, buying clothes, people who badmouth him along the way, but also knowing that this world that he experienced prior to his fame is how he's got his money. And so it's this balancing act that he's doing between knowing that that community that he's come from is causing harm. He knows it. He's aware of it. He speaks to it throughout the song, like several times. Like he talks about like, where I'm from, you don't get old. Like he understands these concepts. He also kind of talks about how he got there. Like one of the lyrics is like, back in the day when it was $7.50 minimum wage, I was bad. Mama sent me to Michigan to get out of the way. So he's even encapsulating this idea of like poverty and that's like not knowing how to resolve those conflicts. And so she just kind of ships him out of the way. And that's to no fault of her own, not blaming her at all. But he's seeing these things and understanding the consequences now of that, but also not really being able to escape that. And that kind of goes on. That was making me think about what you guys were saying, and this idea that we're not really providing, especially these young folks, with solid ways to work through conflict within communities. And so they're going to always kind of result back to what they know and what's familiar if we don't provide that.
Oh, I feel like you just sent me that.
Donnie sounded like those old DJs, the old hip hop DJs. You know what I mean? Hey, yo, that echo.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Starting over. But everything you said, yes. And I feel like I've never even heard this song, but I'm just looking at it now and I'm just like, it feels like also that kind of the thematics of old school hip hop that like tell stories that are actually like storytellers, which I love. And also shout out to Chicago because I feel like Chicago is a place that we need to. When it's cold, why it's cold, but what it's a place that we need to be looking to in terms of where Black people supposed to be at. But to understand what has happened to Black communities and what is happening to Black communities when we're not organized or when we're organized, when those like contradictions are so real around like survival and trying to create your own kind of community status in when you don't have the same kind of revolutionary consciousness and support as before. Because one, I'm just thinking about the death and the assassination of Fred Hampton at 21 and the strong basis that Black Power movement had in terms of in Chicago and creating like multiracial um, liberatory politics in that region. That's also like, yes, there's Black people, and yes, also I feel like Chicago is very southern. Like all the people I know, all my loved ones from Chicago, because I went to school in Ohio, and I don't know why, but there was mad people from Chicago there. I'm like, where you from? Mississippi? No, Chicago. Where you from? Mississippi? No, Chicago. So I feel like there's just like the culture there is very Black, very southern, but also um I think I was telling this to Julian. There's so many rappers in Chicago that I love. Like Saba, No Name. I guess Jamila was not really a rapper, but Jamila Woods, Chance the Rapper, like you know, Kanye. I'm not gonna say, it. But so I feel like there's like so many. There's such powerful music coming out of Chicago, and then there's also like that contradiction, which I feel like trap culture in terms of we don't have rules anymore. Like we will kill children. We will shoot in streets where we know that we might catch an op or not, like that kind of the breaking down of large scale revolutionary movements that took a kind of way, kind of like dealt with or moved the gang culture or opportunistic culture into revolutionary consciousness. But then Chicago also like broke apart all of its projects that had public housing that had Black people in community and separated people all across the city. And what this caused was people to start creating sets by blocks. And so it's like you on one block and you were set. Then you on the next block, that's your op. So it's like I feel like that just Chicago also as a space to study and understand like where are we? Because I feel like that culture of like block to block beef is is spread has spread, and I feel like Chicago's rap and trap culture has a lot to do with that kind of mentality, but also understanding how powerful Chicago is and has been in Black revolutionary struggle and where it is now, like can give us a lot of insight on where we need to go.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to get Jay in. What's up, Jay? What do you
Hi,
think?
y'all. I initially came on because I wanted to prepare us for a cipher to really get into what we mean by hip hop. But while we're on this topic of Chicago, it would be remiss of me to not mention the Young Lords. Um, and when King Von was brought up, I immediately thought of like all my nerdy YouTube like gang war research done by white men, which is why this conversation is really important to me. I thought about how the Black disciples were established in 1966. And if we think about the time, what do you think they were doing, you know? And that's the civil rights era. So when I think of how the Young Lords got their start, talking about how the sanitation department was contributing to redlining and some of the environmental racism we see in urban centers where Black people fled to or migrated to throughout this Great Migration period. Um, it makes me really think about the young lord struggle with like block captains and fighting the sanitation department. We're always thinking about direct combat with the police, but as a Bronxite, I think about direct combat with the fire department and some of these other government institutions that also have been adversarial to us and have required us to create Black solidarity economies. So when I think about Chicago, when I think about my home, the Bronx, I'm thinking about Black maroonage within the United States in these cities, right? So to transition us and really get into our hip hop segment, get into our bag, I wanted to make sure we had a cipher, and this was inspired by Maddie in our comments, like, so are we gonna freestyle? And that is so important because what are we doing without it, you know? So
Sade went
I
off camp.
so
Sade went off camp. Sade said, I'm not freestyling.
Sade is not freestyling. Our cipher today is actually going to comprise of our host, Julian Rose, Amani Poet, and Maddie Clifford, Mad Lines. Um, it's so important for us to also really embody what we're talking about. Otherwise, we're just talking. So I would love to kick off this cipher with Amani Poet, um, who will kick us off, but I want to explain the beat, right? We chose a West Coast, like very Bay Area, dun 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 dun, with the crash in the background because I think that West Coast hip hop also evolved, even Southern hip hop evolved the genre so much, creating like rhyme schemes and different beat patterns evolving the New York sound hip hop started off with. So we're gonna kick it to the West Coast with the beat for the cipher. Maddie's gonna kick it a cappella because you see the bridge behind us. We don't need a beat for that. So we're gonna start with Amani. I'm gonna kick it to Maddie, and then Julian's gonna take us home. Amani, you ready to drop the beat?
Yes. Peace, y'all. I ain't even going front. I'm feeling mad nervous. First of all, I just gotta be transparent, and I got brought into this real last minute, and I'm over here just like, and I'm fan theming. I'm like, wait, that's Mad Lines. Like, I follow all your content. I love it. I'm just like, and yes, everything y'all talking about. And so all of this to say that I was in a mindfulness vibe when I was listening to this beat. So +1 all the revolution shit, but I'm where I'm at, and we doing what we doing. I don't know why it stopped playing, but we're taking it back because we real Black. History, that's a fact. Nah, I'm just kidding. Damn. They want me to hit it a cappella. Nah, I'm fast forwarding this. It's not going past 8 seconds. I probably should have downloaded this.
No music.
I'm gonna hit that refresh button one more time, and then I will hit it a cappella if I need to. But shout outs to y'all. Shout outs to the new economy. Black solidarity every day. And we on strike all year, but tomorrow is the big day, right? Free the people, new economy, say it with me. Free the people, new economy, say it with me. Free the people, new economy, say it with me. Say it with me. You can say it on me, it's okay. Free the people, free the new economy, say it with me. Free the people, new economy, say it with me. All right, mindfulness vibes. Who do you think you are? Who is you trying to be? Or you've been taught as me? Your personality, undress and let it be. Strip your propeller, see yourself within another. Many lives is just another. Your name is just another. Many days is just and your name is just a cover up for what the fluff is under everything we built to make ourselves feel whole. Cause Been home, been home. Since we came in of our own sacred mission, premonition of the mission that we came to engage in. I find it strange when you know you're working, you ignore it. What a bore is just a label with no love in midst of everything. I seen you change the whole globe with the home in your hello. You can keep it mellow if you want more of the same. Look, it should pour down like rain. Run that pass and drop your name. Blasting fire, just a game. Say it with me, free the people, new economy. Say it with me, free the land, new economy. Say it with me, free the people, black economy. Say it with me, free the people, dollar. Say it with me, free the people, new economy. Say it with me, cause we gotta get free in our mind as well. You know what? So I've been trying to conquer my ego, but who the fuck is you? All that's coming through is programming, conditioning. We tripping off the mission that if someone to get riches in and then what? I'm gonna die flying, fucking in the one that does. Drink it up, spinning the kids in my downcast legs, no taste, living in the image of the plants, living like I'm into the plants, but they live like an image of the ants and the plants and this is a love grant. I do it for the ancestors, bring up to the chances. If ever was the trendsetter, take it up divinity, it's all you. What's getting into me? What's getting out of me? Love yourself alchemy, had them claws out for me. Need to take them parts, if it clouded up my heart, cause I came here to restart. Cause without it, how could I lose ignorance and learn a damn thing? We strengthen an illusion and we dance free, we dancing. Cause black joy every day, 365 black economy, say it with me. What's gonna let us free? Land back, say it with me, and we black. Say it with me, and that's a fact. I appreciate y'all black joy. Thank you. Oops.
Now that's what I call bars. Hell yeah.
I hope y'all had enough Wi-Fi for that because I received every word. That was powerful. Thank you, Amani. You really spit with the call and the response for the people. Yes. Yes, Stardust.
Also,
So much.
so incredibly smooth. Like I love when people are smooth, but they're hitting you with the bars, but like it's like you don't know because it's like smooth with it. It kind of reminds me of Bahamadia. Y'all know about Bahamadia? Like it's just so smooth, but then it's like, wait, if you take a second, you're really getting the Morse codes. Like that was hella good.
That was fire. That was fire.
Thank you, family. Honored to be here. Love everything that's happening here. And I just dropped the 2024 wrap up or the 2025 fire. So you can check me out on all platforms. I will drop the link. I can't wait to hear what everybody is about to put on the Cypher play.
Exactly. Y'all are gonna hear more from Amani after the Cypher section. And of course, the beautiful artists here are gonna play some tunes at the end of this. So make sure your seatbelt is in tight for the end of this ride. I'm gonna kick it to Maddie now. We're gonna hit it a cappella.
Yes, I really want to do with the beat, but I'm scared because I'm like, I Zoom is anti-black and I just like don't want to be off beat. Like that's the scariest thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? Um, So then I also cannot leave without plugging. I'm having an event after this event. If you all want to come, pull up, and we're going to be talking just about our stories dealing with the economic crisis and talking about what we can do to organize for housing, healthcare, and everything else. So I gotta plug that. It's happening right after this, if you want to come through. But yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll go ahead. You may think you bit the dust, baby. This is just a head trip. My bars as tight as leotards, my polar Gabby Douglas. I'm going for the gold while they sloughing on a song. Another sound is dying, better ring the alarm. I go deep while others dabble right as raining from Seattle. Shower your whole posse, no dead bodies or bullets sprayed. Just 2 shots up in my latte. Sensei in the ceremony. I got a message for you dumb schmucks. Y'all forgot about the savings in my brain trust. You second fiddle, shoot, I'm Irish. You got green all in your iris, so your soul to be the flyest. What's the use? Don't undress like burlesque. I just spit that naked truth. What's it like to be a female? Wouldn't know because I'm a queen. We was cool till they up and tried to break my self-esteem. Keyword tried. Go ahead, do your thing. I'm used to dirty looks because these rhymes is hella clean. I know I'm strange, but I'm never losing steam. Ask me how I manage it. I'm stunning and I'm stunted so elaborate. Watch me damage, don't get mad at it. Not your average. I'm quite rare. I know you like this right here. Don't stare. Oh, when I'm bringing the news, they'll be licking their wounds. They just bravo your bravado when I'm through. Call a truce. I should spit the verse twice. I'm on one. When I write this stuff, it's red rum. You're soon done. But we all gonna meet a maker, get them free like Ella Baker. If you're all about this paper, then you're gonna catch a fire. I don't need a lie to get what I desire. I'm loyal to my soil, and the O is where I stay. We got soul like Lady Day, and when we done, we say Ashe. Ashe, y'all.
Ashewa. Asheo.
Hey,
Ah,
Open in the building.
my computer overheated. So fire.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. Are we gonna have to do more performances at the end? Because I don't want Zoom to like block the magic. Um, wow. What? You did that. Julian, Julian,
yes,
front. You ready?
yes, we're gonna do this. Okay, let me pull up the sound. Bot, bot, bot. Hopefully, y'all can hear this. Y'all hear it?
Yes, we're bringing it back. Hey.
Hey, okay, look. I don't even rap, bro. I still bolder. Shit is global warming, so I keep getting colder. Up like a fucking folder. And they come on the flow like a fucking loafer. So fresh, so clean. Baking soda. Free Palestine, fuck Cali, but we taking over. Nah, cause I don't like when people don't stand on shit. Yeah, basically they falling over. Fuck Drake, light skin, make me hate October. Fuck with the squad, we gon' roll like a fucking rover. It's that kind of luck you can't get from Clover. It's that kind of swag you can appropriate. Y'all be letting white boys speak on all this black noise. I gave you got the ball like turnover. Writing this on a page, that's a turnover. This is the type of shit I burn over. And that's it. Hey. Maddie brought the glasses out.
Wow. You have so much talent in the room. You gotta let the beat know. Can we get another verse, please? Please come closer. Can we get another verse?
Who got a verse? Hey.
All right. Everyone, who's shy? Who's shy?
We could get another verse a cappella from Imani. This could be
Right.
What? Okay. We can run it back always at the end. We do have time at the end to run it back, maybe play some music. Jamaica in the house. You know, what is hip hop? What is the genre without the diaspora, the Jamaicans, the Ricans, the African Americans? You know, what is it? Um, that was so full. You guys, this is amazing. Thank you all for participating in that cipher. Can we just talk about what the elements of hip hop are? Do y'all know? Quiz time. Well, while I'm here, I think for me, I think when I think back to what I learned in middle school, because I'm from the Bronx, I must mention every 10 minutes. We literally did have a hip hop segment in our history class. So if I recall correctly, dancing, specifically like breaking. And when I think of breaking, of course, we also have to have ballroom. We have like, there's no way we can like skirt past the queer history of hip hop, and that's preserved. The era, the 80s era, the 90s era of hip hop is so well preserved in ballroom. So I would even say like voguing looks like getting sturdy to me, you know? So we have dance, specifically like breaking and ballroom dances as well. We have to have emceeing. You have to have like confidence, right? It's poetry, it's blues, it's introspection. What else? Also like production. There's beats, there's sampling. What is hip hop without sampling? Without DJs creating sampling? Oh, we had such a robust conversation about that yesterday. Um, all of these elements together make me think about what it means to cooperate and what it means to be in solidarity with each other, which is why we're putting this on today. And another element, ciphering, freestyling. which is a part of the poetry. So I'm glad we got to be a part of the poetry today, and we can get back into analyzing these lyrics to see how we can grow solidarity and even grow solidarity economies more specifically in this genre. So I'm gonna kick it back to Julian to bring us through the rest of the examples and take us home.
Hell yeah. And I want to bring us back to what we were talking about briefly, because we were talking about revolutionary defense. And you know what? I'm not harping on this, but I just don't want to move on yet. Okay. So I'm going to bring us back there real quick. All right. Because I got to mention my man, 21 Savage. Now, we know, we know, we know about this guy. All right. But all I'm saying is he got this song. He got this song called Walk 'Em Down. All right. It was on Metro Boomin's project. And he says this, and then there's a hook. So he says, I ain't hit no kids because I walk my man down. I won't hit no kids. I'm gonna walk my man down. And then in the hook, which is really the part I want to talk about, it says, bro wants to kill again. Told him to be patient. You don't kill civilians. The drop will come back out if it's written in. No, we don't pray for war, but if it comes, niggas know what we built for. Niggas know what we built for. We don't pray for war, but if it comes, niggas know what we built for. And I feel like we were just talking about like kind of like I think Donna might have brought in like the whole like idea of like street codes and folks having ethics even as they're participating in, things that, might be harmful or might basically be a parts of our struggle for survival. Um and I haven't actually heard too many, especially like mainstream rappers talking about like we don't kill. If anything, a lot of rap songs are like, I'll shoot up your granny house. I don't care who I hit. Like I burn the whole block down type shit. You know what I mean? So I felt like them specifically making this song talking about like we're not gonna kill civilians. I thought that when we talk about people's relationship to violence and what that means for our revolution, and even just some of the like shit that's going on now, I think this ethic of like being targeted, I guess, being specific and also not praying for war, but also being prepared for it. I thought those things were it was interesting to hear that in such a mainstream song. What y'all think? Jay came back up. Jay was like, wait a minute.
Can I be a panelist, guys?
We got plenty of space up here.
Consent from the room. Oh, Maddie is hopping. Make sure y'all join the folks over there at the Debt Collective for their robust conversation happening right after this. Thank you so much, Maddie, for participating in the cipher and bringing the energy.
Yes, you're amazing.
Okay, I'm a sub in. But I okay. I think even using the word civilian to distinguish between being affiliated and not is a very important like distinction in AAVE. Um, and I don't know if many people know that like people will be like, I'm a civilian, like I'm not affiliated. I'm just wearing red. Like, leave me alone. Like, I don't know if people know that's a thing. Um, but if you're here today, you should. Um, but I think that this goes back to gang history, what we were here for, which Sade touched on earlier, and it was protecting the Block. And that makes me think about dispossession, because today we do not own the Block. And there's a lot of initiatives that are like take back the block and fighting back gentrification, but they all have this capitalist orientation to how we build community with each other. So when I think about how rappers, how, those who are initiated into to gang life, how they could be protecting the land, right? How they could be like protecting our grandmother's house, how they could be protecting our main streets. It makes me think about like a cultural gap in how we approach solidarity economy. I really, really, really love this artist named Skrilla. He's from Philly. And he goes viral ever so often for being on the Kensington corridor with people who are struggling with drug addiction and who are unhoused on the strip. Kensington has the highest rate of homelessness in Philadelphia, I think even in the nation. And one of our great NEC members, Kensington Corridor Trust, actually is building a neighborhood trust to take back the block. So it's like we need to pair the civilian struggle, the civilian route with what the YNs are doing, right? And it makes me think about what Skrilla means for the Kensington Corridor Trust. And if we have more arts and culture at the center of our organizing, how we could use trap to actually take back the block, right? And how all of this knowledge we store in our nonprofits, in our cooperatives, and in our collectives, how that can be brought back to the music, um, not with a Zoom call like this, not with a community meeting because that's corny, but it's obvious that music needs to also be a site of where we're learning how to meet the moment and how to recall on our past of being very well organized because that's what it meant to be initiated, right? That's what it meant. And if you were a civilian, you were wrapped into the hood military somehow, some way, whether you owed dues from your business to protect your business because the cops were not coming, right? So there was ways we protected our own community, and it's through dispossession and redlining and resource extraction that has created these situations we see in Kensington, that we see in a lot of predominantly Black cities here out in the Northeast, Baltimore, how we see in Ohio, how we see in upstate New York, formerly really industrialized factory towns that Black people fled to, escaping the KKK in the South, and throughout several reasons for the Great Migration. So, yeah, like I'm a civilian. Um, I'm a civilian and I would love to contribute in that way. And I would love to feel protected in that way and want to recreate that reality where we were actually, you know, especially in these times, especially in these Doge and 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 Trumpy times, you know, really wishing for that solidarity, pre integration solidarity.
Real quick, guys, making me think of like the importance of some of the work of our grantees, like Petty Populous over in Detroit. And they just recently won an award for their project, the Mobile Artist Incubator, where they're actually trying to keep the storytelling alive, trying to get folks to come together and work together through art and storytelling, through our cultural art and storytelling to talk about their lives, their experience in Detroit. And I think it's kind of like you said, like the Northeast, Midwest is where we're seeing a lot of this stuff bubbling up, and that's something to think about.
Who got the next lyrics? Who got the next bars?
I just want to say one thing before. You know,
Okay.
it's part of the thing. You know, I'm low key. It's my alter ego. You know, that's what it really is. But I want to say one thing about the lyric. I feel like one thing I was thinking about when you were speaking, Jay, is like, also we need to know who the ops are. Like we need to study our enemy, and we need to study it. And also, like the whole question is, are we ready to go to war? It's like, are we ready to go to war? Do we really know what's at stake? Because I'm like, obviously, at the end of the day, there was a lot successful in the project of destroying Black revolutionary movement in the United States. And I think that we're in this moment because I'm like, who if I was right now, if I went to war, boop boop, who come in an organized fashion and breaking through the jail cell and getting people out like people was doing back in the I'm talking about the Black Liberation Army that went underground that Asada was in because Asada left the Black Panther already, and like how like are we really ready to do we know what's at stake and do we understand the long game that our enemies are playing in terms in their investment in our destruction, and then are we ready with our response? Like first you got to know who the op is, who is our actual enemy, so we can figure out who we actually gonna work with or who's the civilian we're not gonna mess with, and then it's like are we prepared? And I think also one thing I'm thinking about, and I feel like we could do a better job of this, even in this conversation, and it's just like understanding that like given the state of where we are, like how can we learn from and decenter the US in thinking about what global revolutionary possibilities we have right now? Because I'm even thinking about the project of like Trump's trying to send people who are incarcerated to prisons in different countries, like their plan is a long game. Like, let's build the prison industrial complex. Let's get all the potential revolutionaries and poor folks, disabled folks, um, folks with mental health conditions. Let's disappear folks and into to like and then let's have people have collective amnesia. So I think it's just like in terms of right now, like how do we? And somebody was talking about this, like rap and hip hop used to be so much about study. Like we're gonna study all of the legacies of hip hop artists in the past and try to recreate and write like that and talk like that and like be in study of what's going on in our environment. And like I feel like music where hip hop is now, like why aren't there more songs that are out there? Like Julian, you sent me, I don't want to say it, but you sent me a white artist. I'm not even gonna say name because we're not talking about you. Like who's talking and critiquing things that happen in Palestine. I'm like, where's our trap song? Where's our trap songs for Palestine? Where's our trap songs? But thank you, Amani. Where's our songs for liberation? I'm saying thank you, Amani, because I feel like you be having your liberation music. And where is that in the mainstream? So yeah, just think about, do we even know who the ops are right now collectively?
Earl Sweatshirt said, well, he said, I'm on the I'm
Uh,
on the corner like Hebrew Israelites, free Palestine. I'm paraphrasing here, but since moving to Baltimore, I see free Gaza, free Palestine, all on the bandos. So people know. Free people know. Even like in reggae culture, the beef between like Vibes Cartel and like Gaza and Gully, like comparing the struggle in Jamaica to an open air prison in Palestine, Gaza, right? So I think it's there. It's like a touch and go, which is why we looking at lyrics today, even Red Veil, who through performances last summer was putting the names of all the martyred children in Palestine, all of the martyred, even beyond the children, all of the martyred in the graphics of the presentation. It makes me think of Kalela's protest at NYU, who has a school in Palestine. Um, it also makes me think about rap in Congo right now. There's this TikTok page called Papi Orion, and it makes me think about how a lot of Pan-Africanist programs throughout the liberation movement and the anti-colonial movement in Africa brought like hip hop in this international struggle. And like if you are following what's happening in Congo and following people who have gone and stayed to document this crisis, to document this proxy war that our government is aiding and abetting, um, it makes me think about how the kids there are talking about how Apple and Tesla, naming them directly, are the causes of their oppression, how capitalism is the causes of their displacement, is the causes of taking school away, of disabling them and their friends, right? Taking their parents. And I'll drop the TikTok in the chat, but that's also very hip hop and it's there, but it's a shame that we have to find it, right? And I think that's why we also wanted to look at mainstream hip hop today to like call in artists to say, actually, you could say a lot more and it's not corny, right?
Yeah, I think that's why I got invited here today, right? Because my friend and I, we would make what we call misogyna music. That's why I'm wearing this hat. Because like, yeah, we got misogyny, misogynoir, and misogyna. I think our website still works, misogyna.com. But either way, what we would do a lot is we would take popular mainstream songs and remake them, keep the same cadence, the same flow, the same rhyme scheme, and just say actual like either like yeah real shit or just like not deeply problematic shit. And it's like the song is still a bop, like okay, so it's like y'all could try harder, like as a I consider myself a lyricist, like so I hear lyrics, I like words are important to me, and I'm just like yeah, you could always get the easy bar, but like work a little bit. Um, so that's one thing I wanted to say, because yeah, like I just feel like it is, I take music and creating so seriously. I feel like it's a covenant with like whatever, like I feel like every human being, every being is creative. And I feel like period, like it is such, it's a weapon. It is a healing tool. It's all these things. So it's like, you can't use it lightly. You can be frivolous with it, have fun, everything, yes, but also like understand the power that you have. And so that's just really important to me. But one thing that came to mind when Danae was sharing about us needing to study and are we ready to do what our ancestors have done, and our ancestors in the movement, they haven't necessarily passed on. But like I feel like one thing an elder in the movement taught me is that it's a different time. And like, she was on that radical she had to live underground, do all of this shit. And it's like, but it's all different time. And like, the surveillance is different, the tools of suppression is different, all of these things. And so like I feel like we definitely need to learn from what has happened, but also not expect that we're going to have the same strategies. And so I feel like it also requires us to be thinking like expansively and just like really trying to think beyond what we have even imagined. And so yeah, and also just wanted to say we are here, those artists that are making like the twerk, the trap, the things like I got a twerk song for the queers. I got a drill song for the rally. We have that, but it's like who's paying attention to us, not each other, and even this is a beautiful conversation, but it's us, like, so it's like, yeah, I'm also always in that space of how do we make what's the quote, like make the movement irresistible, right, and like unavoidable. And so I'm right in there with the questions with y'all. Yeah.
Um, I had to search in my notes because as you were speaking, Amani, I was thinking about how my friends and I do this activity where we say a word and then you gotta rap. Like, so I got Trader Joe's and I'm I'm gonna share with y'all what I wrote. I said, used to get that Trader Joe's peach Bellini, union busting all the bros. They is scheming. They supporting Israel. Then I'm screaming from the river to the sea. And that's on Fatima Bernawi. And I'ma burn that weed. I can feel it in my bones. I ain't gotta see. And I thought about that and I was like, wait a minute, like it could be fun. Like this is just in us just to have fun with it. And it's like, how did the first thing I thought of Trader Joe's is like, yes, that peach Bellini is so amazing. But I'm not buying it anymore. Like I will put having pleasure, that little drinky drink, over a company that is actually union busting, right? A company that is invested in Israel, right? And it made me, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, Fatima Bernawi. Why would I rhyme Fatima Bernawi with weed? But it happened. And I think like we can have more candid conversations about our liberation if we don't have our school caps on all the time and actually relate it to things that are fun and we can have fun. So thank you for that.
Just real quick, yes, joy and fun is revolutionary. So, like, shout out to all the rappers who just make us twerk. Because sometimes that's what we need to do. Sometimes we need to get that out of our bodies, move our hips, release. So, shout out to them too. You know, my girl Meg, especially.
Yes. And I was gonna bring a joy, hope type lyric as well into the conversation because it felt like a good moment. I pulled a quote from "The Girls" by Sierra, but it's a remix, so it got Lola Brooke on it and Lady London. Hopefully y'all know who they are. Lady Lola Brooke, big fan, big fan. I love just her voice, her energy, just everything. But this is a London quote, and Lady London was saying, "If you question your why or you're feeling defeat, you're gonna look in the mirror and repeat after me. I am humongous. I am resourceful. I am much better than ever could be. I am the substance of everything hopeful. I am the proof of what's never been seen." Mm. And I just felt like I feel like if you're gonna be participating in revolutionary projects, right? Like I am the proof of what's never been seen. I feel like that's like an embodiment. Like I am embodying the future that we haven't yet even like experienced. You know what I mean? I didn't know Lady London went to Howard. That's what's up. Yeah, I just felt like that lyric. Like I was like, okay, I see the vision, Lady London. I see it. And I feel like we need that. Like we that's also an important part of like spiritual work for our revolutionary struggles is to like it's almost like a self-esteem type thing of like folks being able to imagine themselves as something that can be so important, so powerful that can like change the world. Especially when like we are getting so many messages, not just in the music, but just in general about like people not being able to change anything, like I don't know enough, da da da, all that stuff. So I wanted to bring that quote in to be like, yeah, some of these affirmations could be really useful for this revolutionary shit we try to do. You know what I mean?
That kind of makes me think. I got some lyrics that kind of are in conjunction with that, but it kind of makes me think. There's this really good documentary going back to talking about gang culture, and it's talking about the gangs in California. Bloods and Crips in America, I think is what it's called. It's a very good documentary. But one of the things that like some of the youth discuss in there is this idea that like they're 4 or 5 blocks, like in Cali, they're 4 or 5 blocks from the ocean and never seen the water, right? And so like because of how violent and how much they experience, that's not even something that they can imagine, right? And so when we're talking about like Black radical imagination, the importance of it to really, really be able to take people outside of what their everyday lived experiences are. And I think that's why we see what we see. Obviously, we know that's why we see what we see in the lyrics. And I was thinking about I'm going back to King Von again, but I was thinking about his song. I don't know why I was in my Chicago bag when I was doing this, but I was thinking about his song Wayne's Story, which is like it's about this young kid who like grew up hustling and murders and like kind of takes pleasure in it at one point in his life for the simple fact that that's like all he knows, right? That becomes all he knows. And so, like, one of the lyrics that stood out to me, it says, "School or the street, shorty gotta choose. He picked the wrong one, shorty finna lose. He don't even hustle, shorty's ass a fool, and he ain't got no money, shorty should have hooped." And that kind of makes me think, like, when we're talking about in contrast to kind of like the lyrics that you put, Julian, it's like we're not giving any choices besides entertainment, and that's it. And so then, if nobody's either playing some kind of sport or doing some kind of hip hop that is directly rooted in so much violence, then there are no choices, and so they get stuck where we are, and then that's it. So the idea of like providing choices and even these affirmations kind of can seem so far-fetched to people when there's just nothing that's providing that for them in their lived experiences.
Oh my gosh, Christina, that like lit something up in my mind about um how there had to be a man in the house to receive benefits from the state. And it makes me think about how Vaughn was like, he don't get no money, she should have hooped. Like, and how Black women have historically had more economic mobility because of like the triple quadruple oppression and just being laborers since we got here, right? In a very particular way, that shapes our experience. And it was making me think about like how it's huge in hip hop music right now that, men need to be a trick and I need a gift and you don't get no money, then you ain't shit. And it's like, wait a minute, where's that from? Where's that from? Right? Why is that our economy? Why is that how we run our household? Because that doesn't even feel right, you know? And I think about it, it's like it's exhaustion of being the breadwinner. Like I know Sade has a lot about like being called big money and how that's like repulsive and like actually no, like Black feminism isn't like for me it's not like I need to be empowered economically like a man. It's like no, Black women have been that since we got here. That was our role. So it makes me think about how rap is showing like actually no, men need to step up in this particular way to be a desirable spouse. And I wonder how we do that in ways that aren't white supremacist and is gender free, is is actually an embodiment of our like pre-colonial legacies and our Africanisms um before being enslaved in this land. So yeah, it's like it makes me, especially with like all the budget cuts that Doge is trying to do now, it makes me think about like what the place of Black solidarity economies are to transform how we manage our household and not replicate um, the cisgender family structure of men being a provider because of our exhaustion with being big money. So yeah, that's what that made me think of. And it's like this is what we Black solidarity economies need to address when we talk about like what it looks like to have economics for emancipation, which is a training one of our members holds. And we can drop the link in our chat if you're like economics for emancipation, what is that? But like these are the very particular economic situations we need to talk about because why are we reiterating that? I don't want to be big money. Step your cookies up. Why are we saying that? And like what is the solution if we want to avoid replicating that cisgender family structure? um Even the Combahee River Collective and many like post World War II Black feminist writers were talking about how like the queer struggle has been oriented around marriage, and gay marriage is actually not queer liberation because the two parent like nuclear family household is oppression, right? So, why should she hoop if he ain't got no money? You know? What do we say about that? Where do we remedy?
Oh, boom. I feel like I need to jump because I'm like all the things you said, yes, 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 sprinkles. And also, like, I'm thinking about just from what the three of y'all said, the lyrics you put in, Jay, what you just shared, and the going back to that quote around, I'm the substance of everything hopeful. I'm the proof of what's never been seen, which I love. Like, I love that as an anthem. Um, and and it's interesting you told the story about LA and not seeing the beach because there's the same situation that happened in like um Brownsville where like folks were like it's like known as being like historically like even people from Brooklyn be hating on Brownsville and I'm like, how you gonna hate on the place that's the blackest, that has like longest roots, closest roots to the south? You know, it's just like I feel like there's like but people kind of sometimes stay in their neighborhoods and like don't venture out and it's like I think of like there's so many worlds that we create when we feel like we need to create our own world, and then how do we now make those worlds feel liberatory? And I think at the basis, that's what hip hop is doing. Like hip hop, like taking like DJs taking certain parts and literally why the Bronx was burning because landlords were collecting insurance from burning down buildings rather than fixing them for Black and Latinx communities in the Bronx. Like being like actually we still have soul, we are still here, like we make something out of nothing all the time. And then also what you just said around economies made me think of it because I'm like we could have did a better job definitely and add to playlist international artists, but I was watching this TikTok maybe because I'm in my bag right now about like diaspora but like about Sancocho and it was talking about like Puerto Rican sancocho, like Dominican sancocho, and Colombian, and what's best, like which one is the best. But the whole concept of like making soup of like I might not have food. Actually, in some places, people were given grease more than they were given actual other things that they needed. But how do I? You bring the yam, you bring the carrots, you bring the potato, you bring the beans, you bring maybe it might be like the tail of a fish in there. It might not be that much protein, but we're gonna literally make something that nourishes all of us and that is a collective process and like how and even in like how big I feel like the culture of like making food that stretches for many is and that to me is very rooted in the African culture in the idea that like we don't make things just for us like what can serve our collective and that's and how can we each bring a little bit to the pot and how do we make something out of nothing which is what black people have always done and then also go into the quote of like I'm the proof of what's never been seen like you know if a white person try to make some soup and they ain't have no seasonings and they ain't have no food, that would not that shit would be. I feel like there was that clip of the civil rights movement. He was like, I can't believe he was joking because he knew it was more than that. But he was like, we was fighting to get to the white lunch counters, and this is how y'all food tastes. Like it's giving cardboard. But I think there is a thing to say like of like black people are the most creative people in the world. We are the basis of creativity. We are the most communal people. And let us not forget that we can make things out of nothing. And also this idea of like, I think what the structure has done, even with how it's contorted hip hop in the mainstream, it was like we act what hip hop is at its core, at its possibility, is to make us see possibility and revolution and imagination, not to get us stuck in harming, in the cycle of harming one another, which in its worst capitalistic, patriarchal, individualistic, isolated sense can make us do, right? In the worst sense of like what trap culture can do. But in the best light of what hip hop can do is about collective. It's about everybody get out, add your word to the cipher, add your twerk to the circle. Like it's already communal. I don't care if you're a grandma and I don't care if you're 2 years old, you belong here. So I'm just thinking about like what y'all sharing in all the ways that black culture is everything. So thank you for bringing in the hopeful lyrics. Because I'm like, I always felt like I was not an Afro pessimist, but now I'm like, am I?
I think we probably have time for one more lyric before we wrap up for today. So what y'all
Well, wait,
got?
did Amani want to share one more look at
I was about to do that
one
after.
more piece, one more poem, one more song?
I'm like burning to elaborate on what Danae said, and I feel like that might be the perfect segue to Amani, about like community building. And it makes me think of like the birthplace of hip hop and where it all started and how it was a summer like back to school kind of party thrown by a young girl. I don't remember her name, but I think it's DJ Kool Herc's sister. Um Oh, I need to know her name. It's like Cindy. I like her name is Cindy. I don't know her last name. But it makes me think about like how hip hop is a modge podge of things. And when we talk about like recession indicators, which is my favorite like online niche on Twitter, is like, oh, like office wear is coming back. Lady Gaga's making music again. These are my recession indicators. It makes me think about like how some of these things are literally just like things you do in your free time, and how hip hop is a thing that happened in like a back to school party, like in our free time, and how it's a modge podge of records and things. You bring the chips, you bring the music, you bring the this, and suddenly we're rapping. And suddenly we've created this thing that is actually like, I think has been commodified. I mean, Black culture is always commodified, but with no money, we made like something that turned into a whole entire industry, right? Um, and how like the music industry and like capitalism has captured this part of our culture, and how record deals are loans, extractive loans that make artists poorer, you know, and we really marginalize artists out of like artists so vital to our community. We kind of just don't have a place for them in our economy unless you want to be a teacher, unless you want to be a part of the music machine, unless you want to um like there's just so many limited options outside of corporate capture. So I think in the spirit of like uplifting artists who are so vital to like building solidarity economies, I wonder if like Julian and Amani want to share their music. Julian, you're not off the hook because you were gonna kick it to Amani, but I also want you to share your music, um, because that's what you be doing as well. Duh. So I'm gonna pass it back to y'all, but I wanted to bring that here.
Yeah, that's what's up. Um, and on that tip, I just shared a lyric from LaRussell, the song Clarity, just to kind of like bring us home, bring it back to solidarity economy and stuff. LaRussell is an artist who does so much like alternative economic models through his art and you know how he runs as an independent artist. You know, does offer based merch so folks can just make an offer for how much they want to pay for it. Does profit sharing type stuff so folks who purchase his albums directly can get a share of some of the income that comes in from that. So really just like doing some cool experimentation. But on this song, LaRussell talked about we always lifting each other up. Eat the pie, but share a piece with your brother. Give a slice to your sisters. Save a piece for your mother. Save a piece for your daddy. Save a slice for your granny. Boy, you know it take a village. Give a piece to the nanny. Make sure everybody gets some till everybody got some. A house don't really mean shit till everybody got one. And I feel like this really speaks to, you know, some of the ethics in the solidarity economy movement. That's why there are models like housing cooperatives. That's why mutual aid. That's why credit unions. That's why, etc. You know what I mean? All these approaches, making sure. I really feel like a house don't mean shit unless everybody has one. You know, and that's how we need to be moving. That's why we're raising money for the Black Solidarity Economy Fund so that everybody in our movement can be funded, not just a couple organizations. You know what I mean? No shade, but shade for real, for real. Uh, but yeah. I definitely wanted to create space for Amani if you wanted to come back up and share anything else you might want to share with us today before we wrap up.
Yeah, peace, y'all. I just felt so unsure what to share because I understand that we're dealing with copyright things. I do have a lease for this song, but it's the song that Danae asked me to share, and it's really too many thoughts to think. So, should I share this beat? Yeah, all right. Cool. I think it's a good in the terms of the solidarity economy conversation. There's a line in the beginning where I say Lizzo taught me we in a two-story, and I don't remember what Lizzo song that was, but she's like, like basically our life, our society is my interpretation, our existence is like, we live in the same house. Whatever affects one, it affects all of us. So that's where that line's coming from. Songs for Donnie. Appreciate y'all. Tunes here to ration the passion and truth that I see. Come on. I'ma take you home, and I know that my chrome is embedded in the rock that I'm throwing, so I stop taking shots at the pain of my sibling. Always here to love, and we got a home to live on earth. Lizzo taught me we in a true story. Oh, you bore me with your hate, cause your fate got a cake, a fatty, a whole team of baddies. Call them eat bright, live good, go slow. You're big, you're small, you're beautiful. Place a kiss on the lip of the petal that you pluck with consent. Or give thanks while embracing the flower, or let it be, let it go, watch it grow. All a puppet in Geppetto. Since I was little, I was down for the people. Born with a sword and a cord in my tongue. Learn from the elders, do it for the young who done come to do it all again. Reincarnation, reincarnation. Yo, sucker and succotash in all tarnation. Borders ain't real in our nation. We all siblings, babies nearly dribbling. We are all each other, we are all each other, we are all each other, one another's mother. The chicken, the children is we, the species is being, the genius is white, and I don't want to fight no more. Drop your weapons to the floor and come and dance over in the middle and save a little for our love or for the homies that ain't here or that's clear. Uplift and make it anthem, a groove and a lesson. Put your leg in if you can, and groove to the left if you can't. Then pick your next best if you can and celebrate. And from the left, y'all, we going vibe. I was just thinking, I was like, disability justice. And then that like fucked up my little flow in my head. But yeah, okay, yeah. Take it down, give thanks, tap the floor if you can, either way. You know we going dance either way. You know we going dance even if we will. You know we going dance. Freestyle, start child, freestyle, start child. Freestyle. Let me see y'all. Let me see y'all dancing. Where y'all at in the chat? Let me see y'all emojis. And give thanks to receive some more blessings. I ain't stressing with accomplices protecting black bodies down and ride for me. Share resources, justice makes lots of reparations. Reparations, revelations, living grace and elevation, levitation, living dreams like happiness, my occupation, limitation, pro-immigration, representation, product of the great migration. For many melanation, we gonna be alright. It's great. We gonna be alright. It's lit. We gonna be alright. It's great. Got grit in our DNA. Decolonize, re-indigenize what? Decolonize, re-indigenize what? Decolonize, re-indigenize. Colonize, re-indigenize. Come on. Yeah. Thank you for the emojis in the chat. I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Amani, if you want to drop your like socials or anything like that in the chat again, please do. Cash App, please do. Thank you so much for bringing your gifts here, your talent, your spirit. I loved it. We loved it, I think. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been an honor. I'm really excited to be a part of this network and to continue to participate.
Yeah, so definitely show Amani some love. Hit up them links. I just want to shout a couple folks out. I know we're gotta wrap up, but thank you so much, Christina, for pulling up, being a guest speaker in here. I feel like you was dropping gems, dropping bars the whole time. Thank you so much for doing all that research, for pulling up, and for being a dope friend. Shout out to Sade, um, my ace, my ride. Sade really be fighting for black people, y'all, in every way conceivable. Okay. And Sade runs the Black Solidarity Economy Fund. So Sade is instrumental in making sure so many organizations across the US and beyond the US, if we keeping it a stack, got crucial funding to continue this incredible work. So shout out to you, Sade. Jalen, you knew I was coming to you. You the reason this event happened for real, for real. We threw out the idea and Jalen said bet. You know what I mean? Jalen said bet. I'm gonna organize it. I'm gonna create the docs. I'm gonna get the flyers together. This, that, and the third. Jalen, I'm giving you flyers right now. Thank you so much for making this happen. You are brilliant. You're amazing. You are a generator. Thank you. Dane, with that fro. Thank you so much. Holding cishet niggas accountable. Thank you. Thank you for that. Dane, you bring such deep analysis and such study of our histories, of the histories of movements. You know what I mean? You bring such care and levity and warmth in everything that you do. And I really, really appreciate the way that you've been showing up and the way that you showed up tonight. Thank you so much, y'all. Anyone got any other shout outs, thank yous that you want to do
For
before we
you,
wrap this up?
Julian. Thank you, Julian. First of all, we didn't know. So Lowkey didn't know. I always tell Julian he be doing secret stuff. Secretly be having organizations, secretly Twitter famous for analysis, secretly be doing back revolutionary stuff. I feel like I don't want to tell nobody, but I feel like Julian be, plotting and planning the revolution. We don't know. But also like didn't even know he had bars. And so then when he showed me his music the other week, I was like, oh, and a writer. I'm telling you, like, so thank you, Julian, for always grounding us in all the ways that you do and being so multifaceted. And I want to shout to Ro for holding down the vibes. And of course, Samara, you don't ever see Samara, but we wouldn't have Zoom and tech things happening so smoothly without the love and care that you always bring, Samara. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you to everybody that pulled up, that was dropping gems in the chat. Thank you, Maddie. You know, Maddie had to leave early, but was dropping gems as well. Yeah, I feel like this event gave me so much, and this is how I want to engage hip hop, a genre that I love so deeply, that I feel like has saved my life at my lowest. You know what I mean? And I know other folks feel that way too. And this is our art. You know what I mean? This is our expression. This is our spirit, and it has so much revolutionary potential there because that's what's in each of us. You know, so hopefully we can continue stewarding this amazing culture and community that we have. You know, toward revolution. I don't know if we want to do any more plugs before we hop off, but thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all being here. Hope you enjoyed.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Such an incredible gift for me. Thank y'all. See you again.
Yes.
Thank you, Amani.
Good night, everybody.
Stay black.
That's right.